Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another Dedview. Today we'll be taking a look at a bit of an older game, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars has gone through several changes since released in August 28th of 2012. Wow, it's a long time ago. Today, Guild Wars is more of a focused game than it used to be. Classes now have more dedicated roles than before, the Trinity is kind of there now. Dungeons don't really exist anymore, sorry my man Loopy. There's mounts, gliding, raids, there's actual difficult fractals, and even some endgame. Now that the devs over at ArenaNet have fixed a lot of my issues, where does the game stand with me? Now before we get into this, quick spoiler warning, this video will contain gameplay from the newest Living Story. If you haven't played that yet or don't want anything spoiled, now is your chance to click away. Okay, are they gone? Good. Let's get started. Personally, I've played a lot of Guild Wars 2, but none of the original game, and you don't need to play the original to enjoy this game. Sure, there are a lot of callbacks to the lore of the first game throughout the Living Story, but the game does a great job with collections, which I'll get to in a bit, that deliver you lore and get you somewhat immersed into the game world even more. The story and Living Story make me come crawling back to see what happens next, and is always a good sign. I hardly stay into games for a very long period of time anymore, and with Guild Wars buy to play model, making it perfect way for me to stay able to play the new content without having to keep buying a new game or having to pay a subscription. Sure, only logging in for living stories and some random PvP here and there may seem bad for a game, but for this game it's casual enough that having a hiatus isn't a huge detriment. Sure, you might be a little behind on some of the latest builds, but with most modern games having constant updates, that should come as a no-brainer. But even with the updates, Guild Wars at its base is fun. Good fluid combat with the semi-tab targeting but free-flowing moving attacks, with the option of enabling an action-stylized camera if you're used to games such as Terra Online. The movement in this game is very solid, and the devs know this, so they added jumping puzzles throughout the world of Terra. Yeah, jumping puzzles. They just keep getting bigger and better, with the game expanding and the devs learning what worked and what didn't. The devs are starting to listen to their community, and the prayers are all being heard around and getting quality of life updates sprinkled all over this bad boy. Raids being added to the mix as 10-man squads come together to defeat fantastic looking and difficult but rewarding bosses. Raids have a steep learning curve, and I'm not entirely sure how to go about Gw2's final boss, but the community in this game is more than willing to help you. Raids are one of the things needed for one of the more pristine items in this game, the legendary armor. Honestly, it's not the best looking armor, and I wouldn't really put the effort into getting it for me, but the thought of it and the work people put into making it is, super rewarding, and it's very pristine, and people will see it and be like, oh wow, pretty. Now one of the shining jewels of this game, and I just brushed past it before, the community. Wow, this game's community, from the super lovely helpful strangers in map chat, to the mesmers who are out here with portals for those of us who can't actually jump, to those who are too elitist to even think about raiding with you if you have under 50 stacks of legendary insight. I just love it all. Everyone here is just looking to have a good time. No one's loot is taken by others. RNG is based on your magic find percentage stat, which can be built up from scrapping items that are collected just from playing. Having that kind of build off of each other, just making it so that you're destroying the old items that you wouldn't use anyways, and then getting your magic find based on that, is a great tie-in. The game is pretty good at not being pay to win. I say pretty good as there's some times where items such as permanent gathering tools, the copper-fed salvage-o-matic kit, those are like some essential kind of items that I would feel you would want on your main character like 99% of the time. But the permanent gathering tools aren't really necessary, and they kind of aren't really worth your money if you're not just using them 24/7. I mean, sure, they have like some faster animations and whatnot, but you can kind of get them in game. You can always transfer your gold into gems and buy everything in game. You don't need to pay real money for anything. Guild Wars has really focused on what they want for the game and what areas they have found to shine. As before, they were kind of trying to hit every base they could. Now they found what players want and are doing what they like. PvP, World v World, raids, fractals, which are just 5-man dungeons that replace the old dungeon system, and PvE story. These are the main focuses for the devs, and it's really showing, as before the game kind of felt like some of the other modes were just tacked on. Now they really have a solid structure for the game. Whether you enjoy being in a really big, hard boss fight like raids, with the earlier bosses easing you into the new meta the game has, or if you like small structured boss fights with DPS being the main focus. Maybe you like fighting the other classes and outskilling your opponents in the PvP battlefield. Or maybe whole server-wide fights are your thing, and not just one. How about 2 different servers at the same time? Or maybe you like to learn about the rich world that this game likes to paint, with worlds and map design that will make you think you're in a painting. Guild Wars has all of these things, just kind of sitting around ready to go and explore and find. As I mentioned before, the player base wants you to come enjoy the game as well. Most everyone I've met is really nice out here and in the open world, giving you tips to the right direction. Hell, some even just come with you and help you with anything you need along the way. Now, one of my favorite things about this game is the wardrobe and the dye system. One of the best implemented in a game I've ever played, and with the game being referred to by most of the players as Fashion Wars 2, being able to get armors on one toon and transferring it to all other toons with just needing transmutation charges, which are easily obtained through several ways. Getting all the armor pieces in this game would take so long. Not all are great. Like, my biggest complaint is with the medium. There's way too many trench coats, and the community agrees, but they're slowly moving away from more trench coaty things. The collection system that I mentioned earlier in the video is a great way to have your players going out and doing things in the world of Tyria. They have you do these sometimes small, while others more grand tasks, but when done, reward you with new loot or a title, something to make you feel good. Sure, some of these are a grind, but the ones that are meant to be, such as the legendary collections or the Griffin Mount collection. Those are items I think should take a while to get and do if you're not prepared. I enjoy this system as it's a way to not fully gate someone on progress or something. Say you want the Griffin Mount, well, you don't have the gold to just buy the items needed from the vendor. But instead, what you can do is go and find the secret Griffin eggs. While doing this, you'll probably run into events and bosses, maybe even a commander tag that pops up around you, and now you have players all around you trying to do something, and you can join in and get the loot, gold, experience, everything, without worrying, all while making progress on something that is still slightly gated. It's a great design choice. Mounts, and depending on how long or if you haven't played the game before, gliding has been added to the world and it just works. Both feel very fluid in the game, and the transition from mount to walking to gliding to mount again is just so easy and feels right. Mounts have been kind of requested for a long time to be added to the game, and now they are here with 6 all new mounts, one being exclusive to Worldy World, which I've yet to gain, as stepping away from the game for a while has left me with a lot of catching up to do. The mounts that came with the POF expansions were the Springer, Skirmer, Raptor, the Sandog, and the Griffin. These mounts pretty much cover all the groundswork of what you need in traditional mounts in MMOs, and are really well implemented into Guild Wars. Gliding is one of the best things added to the game and feels like it's been here all along. Added in with the Heart of Thorns expansion, allowing you to finally jump off the super high peaks while slowly gliding down to enjoy your view and the path you travel to get there. All in all, expansions ended up bringing much needed variety to Guild Wars series and really pushed it out ahead of other MMOs in my opinion. Not that anyone plays MMOs anymore anyways. Where am I going with all this? You know, this game's pretty good for being about 7 years old with updates, just improving the game in general. I'm not saying every single update ANET has pushed out has made this game good or great, but the end outcome is good. The devs at ANET are getting what they needed done, and now we can enjoy. Sure, this game probably isn't for the super hardcore dedicated MMO fans of the past, where everything was a challenge and the shinies were just way too far for the normies to even think about laying hands on. But the game isn't for that. It's trying to slightly appeal to you guys, with raids and endgame fractals getting harder and harder. This game's just a good all-around MMO, and with its low buy point that usually goes on sale constantly, it's a steal. Pick up the game on sale, or, you know, it is free to play currently, but you get most things locked out. I would just pick up the game. It's a really good buy. You won't regret it. I've been Ned Laugh. Thanks for watching.